You need to branch out into different games. It's as simple as that. If not, it could just end up with you leaving the entire gaming space. This same statement can apply to many different mediums and genres, but not many people in the gaming community seem to understand it. I am a Nintendrone, an obsessive fan over every single piece of Nintendo media, but after playing Persona 5 Royal, it caused a chain effect in my life, which began with me finding my favorite game of all time above classics like Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story and Super Mario Galaxy, and led for me to try out other new types of games that may have even caused my joy from first playing games as a kid again to return. If any of my regular viewers are still watching, I urge you to continue, and maybe the same could happen to you. Maybe not with Persona 5, not every game is for everyone, but hear me out on this one. Around almost a year ago, I was pretty closeted in terms of what games I played. My library was 95% Nintendo games, with minor exceptions like Minecraft or Terraria. A friend of mine gifted me Persona 5 Royal, urging me to play it. I refused at first, but he kept persisting, and eventually I caved in. I said Persona wouldn't be the type of game for me. From all my experiences on the internet, the few things I heard about Persona 5 was that it was the pinnacle of the 100-hour-long grindy JRPG. And while I do love a long game as long as it has a good story, it seemed way too daunting, and most of the gameplay just being grinding wasn't exactly my cup of tea. What I heard was far from the truth. The first saving grace of this game was the difficulty options, and with me being the coward I am, I opted for easy mode. I'm not sure how grindy the game actually is on normal or harder difficulties, but the options are there. I started the game and was greeted to this incredible, energetic, upbeat introduction where I'm a thief running through a casino, being chased down and all my teammates are cheering me on. There's this mysterious girl and the cops are turning into these weird creatures, the music is beautiful, and so on. If you're a game developer, please do this. This is how you make a proper introduction to your game. I was immediately hooked onto this world and its characters, its art style, and so on. Persona 5 is a game where you play as Ren, a high school student who is falsely accused due to assault. In the end, he has to leave his hometown and move in with a family friend in Tokyo to serve a 1-year probation. An enjoyable premise anyone can get the gist of. The Persona series has a very specific type of gameplay. You follow a real-life calendar, starting in April going all the way to March in Persona 5 Royal. You go day by day, meeting characters, interacting with them to rank up your confidant rank, basically how close you are, progress through the main story, and explore the palace you're currently at or go to mementos. Palaces are the main quote-unquote dungeons in Persona games. In Persona 5, the dungeons aren't randomly generated like in 3 or 4, but the palaces have their own unique designs with their own gimmicks, themes, and characters. In palaces, you progress through the story by stealing the treasure in each one, which requires you to secure a route there by obviously traversing through the palace, fighting shadows, and completing fun and simple puzzles. Mementos is more of an open labyrinth for fighting these shadow enemies and complete specific side quests. I don't really want to get into the story specifics of why these places exist, as Persona 5 is best experienced blind, but palaces and mementos exist in an other alternate world, where you can clearly see a person's true desires, and by stealing their desire, you literally take it away from their personality, causing them to end up being better people. All of the palaces are really fun in their own ways, have really great boss fights, messages, and visuals obviously. Obviously, the combat is turn-based. You and 3 other party members of your choosing fight shadows or bosses. You summon characters called personas that you can get from many different ways. You can recruit shadows after you defeat them and make them your personas, or you can merge personas to create even more powerful ones. I really love how they handle this, because it's a system where you don't need to get into it that much if you're not the type of person who wants to collect all the personas and make perfect ones. It's completely open to how much you care about it. Same with party members. Each party member has their own persona, which is a specific type. So for each palace, you could look at the types of persona are there and choose party members that have the persona to counter theirs, or you could just wing it. There's a lot of freedom that I honestly wasn't expecting. I assumed I would just be forced into doing all these detailed analyses trying to make the perfect team. And again, I probably would if I chose hard mode, but I don't care. The story of Persona 5 goes a lot deeper than I originally thought. Firstly, each character gets their own individual time to shine in each story arc in the game. While some have more depth than others, they're by no means flat characters. They feel like real living people, who you witness struggle and develop as people through the regular story and ranking up their confidant. At least in my opinion, each palace feels like the story just keeps getting better and better, which is what caused me to get completely hooked to the game and finish it only a few weeks after I reached July in-game. You're part of a team called the Phantom Thieves, where you recruit a new member every now and then and steal the hearts of the corrupt people in society. Each story arc you find a new target through how they're affecting people in Ren's life. Whether it's a school teacher or a relative of a confidant, you then infiltrate the target's palace to steal their treasure, their heart. The main theme of the game, from my understanding, is rebellion, fighting against the corrupt people in society and exposing them to the public. It is incredibly satisfying, and I love the theme of rebellion in general. The calendar system I brought up really enhances this type of storytelling, because you're really spending a whole in-game year with these characters. But the thing is, it can really go by quick. I thought my total runtime was like 60 hours, but it was actually 110. Even if you're not a fan of long games, I understand that, but that doesn't mean you're not a fan of games that don't feel like long games, if that makes any sense. For a game like Tears of the Kingdom, you already know that this is going to be a long experience from the start. You look over the massive map, and unless you want to speedrun it, you roughly understand that this is going to be a long game. With Persona 5 Royal and its linear storytelling, you do have the calendar system to try and tell how far you are into the story, but you're never actually aware of how long each day will actually go by and where the endpoint is. Some months will go by quickly, or sometimes you'll spend a few hours on one day alone. But once the game reaches its 4th or so arc, the pace starts to pick up and you don't even realize how much you're pouring into the game. The visuals in Persona 5 Royal are stunning. You don't need me to tell you that, you're looking at the screen. Part of the reason the game took so long to make was because of this art style. And I don't know if there's a specific term for it or if there is any, but it is incredibly gorgeous. It fits this type of game so well, and especially compared to Persona 3 and 4, it feels a lot more distinct. I thought I would get sick of it by the end of the game, but I didn't. Although I hope they don't try and go for this style again for Persona 6. While I do really love the animated 2D cutscenes, I honestly think I prefer the 3D ones. I'm not saying the game should completely get rid of the 2D ones, they're really nice too, but the 3D ones are visually stunning with how expressive they can be, and it really fits with the game's art style. The music in Persona 5 is the cherry on top of the already good cake that doesn't need the cherry, but oh my god, the cherry makes it so much better. You can tell they put a lot of heart and soul in every single track. There's nice and calm pieces like Beneath the Mask, motivational and upbeat ones like The Life Will Change and I Believe, and there's a magnum opus that is Rivers in the Desert. All the tracks I just mentioned are some of my favorites, being I Believe, Life Will Change, Throw Away Your Mask, Wake Up, Get Out There, and finally, Rivers in the Desert. Rivers in the Desert was very important to me. When I first started the game and was listening to most of the vocal tracks that fans seemed to like the most of the time Rivers in the Desert was up there or it was on top. It was my first time listening to it, not the actual part in game where it plays, and I was slightly disappointed. It was pretty good, don't get me wrong, but it didn't stand out really. I mostly preferred Life Will Change. But then I got to the actual boss fight, and that song hit hard. It really hits you that it's not the enemy's theme, it's yours, and your journey, and that you are the river, starting out small and dry, turning into a raging fast river, taking over this entire desert. I know a lot of people talk about that, but I had to mention it. And after that boss fight, Rivers in the Desert had a completely new meaning from when I first heard it, and it became one of my favorite songs. Same story can go for Throw Your Mask Away. Even if you don't play the game, listen to the music, please! And now, a quick spoiler section. If you don't want to hear and haven't played the game, skip to the time on the screen. Even if you're curious about playing it, just don't watch it. It's not worth your time and you'll regret it, trust me. I was already spoiled that Akechi was the traitor in the Phantom Thieves, but man, even seeing the reveal in real time hit so hard. The developers really nailed the entire Akechi boss fight in Sai's palace, and his character arc in the third semester too. The third semester in general was handled perfectly. Maruki actually didn't feel like a villain, he just had a different mindset, which I can't get the same feeling for a lot of other villains. Should I even be able to call him a villain? I guess he really wasn't. It just goes to show how great of a character he was. I also love Sai's palace, and it's my overall favorite. The casino is an amazing setting, the boss fight had a really interesting gimmick, puzzles weren't that bad, the music was banger, and the aftermath with being arrested was such a great plot twist. Igor's reveal was a massive shock to me. Thankfully, I wasn't spoiled on that, and I was convinced that Igor was a good guy based on what I heard online. And that segment of the game is definitely one of my favorites. And that's about it for the game itself. After finally finishing the game, I realized something. Maybe, just maybe, I should keep trying new games. The feeling after beating the game and playing it in general was so joyous. I was so happy. Don't get me wrong, when I play new Mario games or a new Pokemon game, I'm pretty happy, but it's such a refreshing change of pace, something out of the ordinary that I love, and I want you all to get that same feeling too. That's why I made this video. That's part of the reason why I made everything. Ever since I beat Persona 5, I started playing all sorts of new games like Xenoblade 3, Monkey Ball, Fire Emblem, Ace Attorney, Party Animals, and more. No one should just be playing the same things their entire life. There's more games that you will enjoy, and that's a fact. There's so many different genres, so it's something that everyone is bound to enjoy, and Persona 5 Royal helped me realize that. To all the people who say gaming isn't fun anymore, gaming isn't the problem. You are. You're scared. You're afraid to branch out and try something new. I'm going to have to assume your entire library consists of something like this. I'm not trying to offend anyone or seem rude, I genuinely just want you to have as much fun as I am by just trying something new. Persona might not be your cup of tea, and I understand that 100%. I got Fire Emblem Engage, and it isn't exactly my cup of tea, but you have to take chances with this. But there's times you find a perfect game for yourself. I love this story and thinking outside of the box with Ace Attorney games. I love screwing around with my friends on Animal Party and hitting each other with frying pans. I love rolling around in a ball as a monkey in Monkey Ball. Hell, I even started getting addicted to Angry Birds! The simple gameplay formula is just so fun and even strategic at times, and I can't wait to try out other new games like Deca Police and the Gecko Gods. Look, next Nintendo Direct, or State of Play, or whatever showcase you watch, keep an eye out. Don't roll your eyes at every announcement that isn't something you want. Try to give everything a chance, because you might just find yourself your favorite game of all time.